welcome to Getting Your Money's Worth, the show that focuses on value. I'm Judith West, and our guest today is Jorge Silva Puras.
That's right.
Good. I've passed the first test. Regional Administrator for the Small Business Administration. Hi, thanks for being on the show.
A pleasure to be here.
Well,
Thank
you have
for
a big
inviting
job these days.
Absolutely.
You've been doing this a long time, Jorge?
About 8 months, so fairly new to the agency, but it's been...
Give us a little bit of a background, a brief background on the mission of the Small Business Administration.
Sure, absolutely. Well, the SBA is a federal agency that helps small businesses obtain particularly three things. Number one, capital. We call it the 3 C's. Capital, counseling services, and contracting opportunities with the federal government.
Okay, you could call that customers too, as one of the C's, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
So we actually have 4 C's, not 3.
4 C's. So yeah. I'm gonna add customers to this. Okay, let's go slow. Capital. Hey, I read all the time that businesses that one of their biggest problems, they can't get credit.
Well, they
can't get they can't get loan. So, are you saying that you can make it easier to borrow money?
Well, the way the SBA works is that we make it easier for the lender to make a favorable decision for the borrower. How? Because we provide a guarantee. Right now,
so you go in through the back door. You have a borrower here. And you're not interfacing with the borrower as much as you're interfacing with the lender.
Well, we interface with both, but what we do is we recommend and we do provide counseling to borrowers, potential borrowers, and tell them, go to your lender and ask for one of the SBA programs. And the facility that SBA provides is that in some instances there can be a guarantee as high as 85% of the loan. So for the bank that is considering granting this loan, having a federal guarantee of the bulk of the loan makes it a...
Okay, so what is the dollar limit? Is there a limit on this 85% guarantee?
Yeah, there are actually several programs.
Okay, so let's go slow.
The
program 1 or
the biggest program that we have can go up as high as $5.5 million.
Really? You go up into the millions and you guarantee 85%?
On the bigger ones we guarantee 75%.
All right, that's still pretty good.
150,000.
So what do you look at? You look at the credibility of the borrower, obviously.
Yeah. Well, we actually delegate that responsibility to the bank. The bank is the one that makes the lending decision. Where we help is we provide the bank with the guarantee. So let's imagine that you're going to the bank and they ask you for...
Let's just say company XYZ that may want to extend their may want to extend their retail stores by a couple of stores, and they need money for leases, for furnishings, for buying more merchandise, and I'm assuming they have to pass the bank's requirements. They have to have a pretty solid business plan.
History, business plan.
Pay their bills on time, so on.
Correct. A statement of cash flows, all the typical information that a bank would consider. Right. But let's imagine that in that particular case, the potential borrower, is in that position where the bank is debating whether to grant or not grant the loan based exclusively on the information provided by the borrower or the collateral provided by the borrower. That's where the SBA can come in and tell the bank, well, we can guarantee up to 85%. So that in many instances, and we have seen in the last 2 years in particular, makes it a significant difference for the bank to say yes. What we want the borrower and the bank is to come to an agreement, get to yes as soon as possible with the guarantee.
So how then do you collateralize your 85, your piece of the loan?
Well, we provide a guarantee based on the federal government, full faith and credit. So that's why the government, the bank, feels so comfortable that if something were to happen with that loan, the federal government would step in and pay.
So the lender pays regularly and everything's okay, and your 85% of the loan is still guaranteed, and it's cost you nothing so far, but nothing happens. So let's just start. Let's just say it's the opposite. What if the loan starts to go in default? Then what happens?
Well, let me give you an example, a recent example.
Okay.
President Obama recently signed a law that granted SBA close to $600 million in order for us to increase the guarantees and to waive some of the borrowing fees associated with an SBA guaranteed loan. Well, those $600 million allowed banks to lend up to $14 billion So the multiplying effect is humongous.
Humongous,
of course,
right.
it's a reserve. We keep it in reserve, and as you very well put it,
Right.
sometimes we don't need to use the reserve because the loans are repaid perfectly well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But when they're not, you then compensate the bank.
Yes, we go through a process in which the bank
And
will...
you actually transfer money from the Small Business Administration to whatever bank has accepted the loan.
Yeah, the bank will go to our processing center and request that the guarantee be honored. And we do an analysis, and if everything is in
And
place...
you never, at that point, you don't go to the lender and say, hey, how come you're not paying the loan?
That is a relationship the bank has with the lender.
That's the bank.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So, but let me ask you something. There's been a lot of all this prime mortgage where the banks don't properly debrief the lender and so on. Wouldn't the fact that the bank has a 75% guarantee from the Small Business Administration encourage them to make some not so secure loans?
Well,
I mean, we know that taking advantage of the lender naivety or ignorance has caused some of this mortgage debacle that we have.
Well, frankly, at least since I've been in the agency and for the last few years, based on the numbers that I have seen, that has not been the case. As a matter of fact, banks constantly tell us a loan guarantee, an SBA guarantee, doesn't make a bad loan a good loan.
Oh.
So we will consider the loan based on our credit criteria, and we will grant it based on our credit criteria. If there's a need for a guarantee, we will, of course, use it. But it doesn't make, as they said constantly, a bad loan a good one.
Well, that's encouraging for our
For
taxpayers.
Absolutely. We have a responsibility to
we
them.
have it, you know, these stimulus programs and these are costing taxpayers dearly.
Yeah, in the case of SBA, actually, it hasn't cost the taxpayers anything. On the contrary, what we have seen based on our analysis is that those guarantees have allowed, as I said before, for a lot of lending to occur when the market's
So it's been
tight.
an encouragement in terms of consumers extending their business and spending money.
Absolutely. We're actually seeing right here in New York a double-digit growth.
What makes a small business? What's the dollar volume to be considered a small business?
That's another interesting change of the law that President Obama signed last September. There's a new definition of what a small business. Now it's based on the profits or net revenues of that company.
Right.
So if you have had $5 million or less in profits on average in the last 2 years, you qualify as a small business.
Okay, so let me just say, $5 million of bottom line money, or is that
Correct.
volume?
Profit, yes.
So anything that's not over $5 million falls into a small business
Into
category.
the definition. It's a temporary amendment we have done to
And
the
what is
definition.
is there a bottom? You have to have
No,
you have to be
there's-
at least profitable to get a loan. What if you're in a struggling business and you're in like a startup mode? Can you qualify for a small business loan?
Well, we have programs that attend to the startup phase as well. The bulk of our programs are for established businesses that want to
Right.
grow or want to
Right.
refinance.
Right.
But there are
So
programs...
you're looking for business in general that have a healthy start, have gone through some of the ups and downs of starting up,
Right.
and really are at a point maybe where if they have some help, they can expand and grow.
Let me give you a good example.
Okay.
A recent case. We had a borrower or commercial client that was leasing his property and was paying X as a lease. With the situation with the real estate prices going down and the interest rates going down, he did an assessment of using one of our programs called the 504 mortgage program, and he made a calculation and estimated that he would pay less in the mortgage than he was paying for the lease. So he was able to acquire the
And he would
building.
own something too.
Absolutely, and after 20 years, 30 years, depending on the term of the loan, that property is his. So it's equity in the business.
I
So-
mean, really, in some ways, you're kind of stepping in to help people fulfill their expectation of the American dream.
Absolutely, and we are, again, seeing double-digit growth in New York City.
Your region is new. You're seeing good growth in New York City.
New York City, Syracuse, and Buffalo are the 3 district offices we have in New York
Syracuse
State.
and Buffalo are pretty troubled areas.
Yeah, but they're growing too.
They're growing too.
They both have double-digit growth, at least the last year, based on the incentives that we're providing. I also have responsibility over New Jersey, Newark office, and San Juan, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands.
Well, you have a very diverse climate control. That's climate.
Absolutely.
Jorge, it's confusing. Is the economy picking up? are people less demoralized? Do things seem more encouraging to you?
At least from the numbers that I'm seeing in terms of guarantees and the increase in the loans that are being provided, I definitely am seeing recuperation of the market, and I see it every day. I see businesses that are expanding, that are hiring, that are buying their properties, or that they're growing in terms of their square feet, etc. So I do see significant improvement.
And for folks, entrepreneurs that want to grow their businesses, after all, this country is built on the back of entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
If they're having some trouble, are regional banks or national banks, are they all as friendly to small business loans?
Well, there are many banks.
Should people shop banks that are having some trouble?
We actually, it's an interesting question. We actually list those banks that are most active in SBA guaranteed loans.
On your website?
On our
That's good to
website,
know.
sba.gov.
So for anybody who's listening and that's thinking about it and hasn't done it, they should go to your website and go into the bank and ask for, hey, what small business programs do you have available?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, we just launched or relaunched the website. It's an improved version of the previous one, and now you can enter your zip code, and it will tell you by your zip code which are the resources in your local area. So it's a very effective tool to not only understand which are the banks that are lending in your area, but also what other services provided, like counseling services, like federal government
well, we should talk
contracting.
about that. We talked mostly about lending because lending is really the engine that drives everything else.
Yeah.
So once a business is financed or gets additional capital to run their business, they can turn to you for counseling?
Absolutely. We provide via our partners. We have several partners that give free counseling.
You have to give counseling. You have people out there in the field that give counseling.
Yeah, we have district offices of the SBA, but we also have small business development centers that are affiliated or they're nonprofit organizations that receive funding from the SBA to provide free counseling to entrepreneurs.
And these are government employees of the SBA?
No, they're employees of the SBDC, which are typically associated with a university or a campus.
Good. So these are academics. That's something that knows some background.
No, not really. Actually, most of them have either MBAs or business executives. We also have SCORE, which is an organization
we had
of
somebody on
volunteers.
from SCORE. Right.
Yes.
So we took care. We spent a lot of time. We took care of the capital. Now the counseling, and we have like 1 minute left. How do you help with contracting?
Okay, let's say if you have a business, it's a women-owned business.
Yes.
You can obtain a certification from the SBA that would allow you to get preferential treatment in federal contracts.
I see. You have to say if you have to. Yeah.
You can either get a certification that we provide called the 8A certification, or you can self-certify as a women-owned business, and that would allow you to tap up to 5% of all federal contracts.
Good. It's about time the federal government recognized the value of women.
It's actually a brand new improvement. As a matter of fact, we're working on the new regulation.
Right.
Should be ready in the next 120 days. So keep
okay. Well, we're going to post your website. It's, I'm sure, full of information, and you've been very full of information. And I must say, you're a very good representative.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Of a program that I think not very many of us know about. Thanks for being on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
I'm Judith West. You're watching Getting Your Money's Worth, and we're listening to Jorge Silva tell us about a very good program that is a service of our government.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.